Falconers, to locate their birds, use a variety of techniques. Oh, my hand is empty, you see. Use a variety of techniques. Bells are important, and if you saw me removing something from the falcon earlier on, you'll have noticed I've removed a radio transmitter, which is a modern method of locating them. You see, you can track the birds for up to 14 miles perhaps, and this makes life somewhat easier. But when the bird flies free, it's free to fly off. There's no way I can force this particular one, who's called Baldy, or any other bird to return to me unless it really wants to. I rely on the fact that it's hungry, and I measure how hungry it is, not only by just looking at it, but also by placing it on the scales each day. Just as we might hop on the bathroom scales and say, I didn't realise I'd eaten half a stone of plum duff or whatever last night. Our birds' weight varies according to what they've got inside them, but it also varies according to the fat they've laid down. And this particular bird today, I popped it on the scales, it weighs £2, 4 ounces. This is a weight, actually, at which it would go out and catch rabbits. She's quite capable of catching a rabbit up to and over that weight. There we are. Now, if she went too low in weight, she'd be weak. If she got too high in weight, she'd be reluctant to fly. Just as a bird who was completely satisfied in the wild, had been eating lots and lots and lots over a period of weeks, would have laid down body weight and would have decided that it was time to have a bit of a rest and sit still and let the world go by, she'd do exactly the same thing. She'll be back on her perch and bring out another bird of prey to fly for you. It'll take me a moment or two, but what we're going to do is try and move on to a bird that flies in a slightly different manner. Perhaps a falcon will be our next bird. Now we'll move on to this chap, Subsonic Sid, little Lana falcon. And I would normally slip a hood upon his head, but whilst I was sorting all his tackle out, time flying a very different way. They're long-winged, fast-flying birds of open countryside. Usually you'd expect a falcon like Subsonic Sid to be catching birds perhaps up to his own size. He'd also take a certain amount of ground game over in Africa, in the Middle East. He simply doesn't let me down. No matter what happens, generally speaking, I end up with Sydney back on my hands, and he's done his bit, he's worked hard, and he gets his reward. And this is all that I can ask of any of the birds. If I up first of all, because when he turns round, he has little or no control. He's got to stop again. This time we'll get him going. He's seen what's going on now, so let's get him going. Help! Help! Hey! I'll throw the lure out. His head's bobbing. This is a sign of interest. Falcons rely mainly on visual stimulus, so they're going to be showing signs that they're looking at things, cocking their head in the same manner as a parrot, perhaps, or just generally head bobbing. Help! And then we're going to try and stoop into the lure. Now I'm going to move out a little bit. Come on! Because I don't want him landing too many times. I also don't want him, see, having too much trouble with the building. But I'm sure you're going to get the gist of what's going on. He keeps getting caught in a bit of a four down grab. But the idea is that Subsonic Sid should actually chase this lure. Come on! I'm going to try not to tease him too much. I want him to work hard, you see, and I don't want him to feel that it's all for no reason. So what I'm attempting to do is get the lure as close to him as I can and encourage him just to play a little bit of a chase game. Hey! Hey! And I encourage him with my voice as well. Their hearing's probably as good as yours. Probably a lot better than mine. One of the reasons I shout is so I can hear myself speaking. And after years of working with various noisy things, including birds of prey, I seem to have gone a bit mutton jet. Come on! Come on! He's molting. Hey! And you can see there's a bit of a gap in his wing feathers. We haven't clipped him in any way. Just bolting those primaries out. Come on! Hey! Hey! Ho! Ho! And next time, if you can get a real downdraft there, we can see the effect it's having on the birds. Ho! 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 If I call him into win this time, then I've got to allow him to catch the lure. Ho! Good lad.
Oh, well.
Right, he ends with a bit of a bump to his nose there, but that's why, you know, when they're born, all birds of prey have beaks just like ducks. And after successive flights like this, it eventually curls over when they bump the nose. Right. He's quite tired. You know, he's done quite a bit of work there. He was really struggling where the wind's hitting the house. There's a lot of turbulence and he was really struggling. But I'm going to leave him for a moment or two because there is a reward of meat on the lure. And it's only fair when a bird works, you reward it. It's as simple as that. A post of brown envelopes come through the front door and somebody takes your hard-earned reward away from you, you know the feeling you've got. Well, imagine if you had the same feeling every day. And this is what the bird would become disheartened if I went up to it and picked it up straight over that reward and put it away. It actually wouldn't like it very much. And he'd probably say, well, why the heck should I work? You know, or why shouldn't I just be lazy and sit down? So what we want Subsonic Sid to do is actually enjoy what's happening and tuck into his food. And this is what I'm allowing him to do. This mantling, this cloaking of the food with his wings is a protective gesture. It's also helping to camouflage the food from any aerial predator, anything that's up above him. Maybe in Africa it will be a tawny eagle or a female lanner falcon who's somewhat larger than this little lannerette. And he's asking for a bit more. And he's looking over there at Sydney, but I think in his own mind, Carlos knows that if he even made a lunge, that Sydney would pick up the lure and carry it on. Initially, the person who's training or keeping the animal, or rearing it I should say, as a parent, for a short time certainly, in my experience, as a peer, you know, as just another bird of prey, and then eventually as a partner. Owls, it is essential that if you're going to fly them, that they be imprinted. Their brain doesn't work in the same way as your raptors, and their body, they physically aren't the same as raptors. They seem to prefer to die rather than be trained if they're not imprinted. And indeed, I would say it would be cruel to try to train a non-imprinted owl. And so, when we get an owl, we generally get it as a youngster, and sometimes we breed our own bird, so we're getting it actually as an egg. When we're starting with something like Popeye here, who's a great horned owl, the day it hatches, in your own time, the day it hatches, we begin to hand rear it, and we will take over the role of its parents, and naturally, therefore, as it begins to hop, skip, jump, and eventually fly, it comes to us for food. It would do it with its parents, and it does it with us. Well, even inside forests, perhaps. Relying on movement and attacking their prey from a distance may mean that they can build up speed and hit the prey with an awful thump. And he really does have a lovely flight, not so coordinated yet, but being a baby owl, only a few months old, he's only learning the ropes, so to speak, and he hasn't really flown in windy conditions. He certainly has never seen a snowflake or anything like that. He's just learning what's going on. All the time he keeps up with calling, and he isn't caught, he doesn't need a lozenge or anything like that. That's a typical call from an owl. Samson, help! Unless it is absolutely necessary. Hello. Here he is. Now he's a tawny eagle, and this particular race of eagle can be found in Africa and India, and up towards the steppes of Asia, where it's replaced by a close relative, apparently the steppe eagle. And they're very numerous. They're the world's most numerous true eagle, and they're not the most cosmopolitan. Perhaps leave that in the hands of something like a golden eagle. Do with him over the winter period, we want to pop him in an aviary with his sister Delilah and leave them to have a good molt out. Unlike the falcon that we saw, who molts readily and speedily each year, eagles often take 1 or 2 years to molt out, but we can encourage this to be... That's bad manners as well. We've got a bad mannered collection of birds here today. We can encourage the molt to go through more speedily by giving a very high quality of food, which the birds would not naturally be used to. You see, they'd be, as I say, fighting it out with vultures and so on, and they wouldn't be generally living on something as good a quality as rat, which is a superb food for these birds. We're starting with Warwick, who's a little male kestrel, and I don't know quite what he's up to. I hope he hasn't dived in one. He's got a strange thing at the moment. We'll hop out here and do a bit of flying. The idea, in fact, is that he does this. He hovers. Now, this is what a kestrel will do in the wild, and This is, caught in a downdraft, he didn't do a very good job, but this is what I hope to get him to do in the demonstrations. But we're trying to mirror the natural behaviour of birds of prey using falconry techniques. I'm not showing you falconry, I'm just showing you how a bird of prey would behave in the wild. It's really difficult for birds of prey to fly on the lee side of a hill. They prefer not to, so what I'm actually doing is keeping him up for the minimum length of time. I know that at least one guest has seen Warwick fly before and can vouch for the fact that he goes up and does hover for a good deal longer than this. When he gets through prey there, puffing himself out, screaming like Billio, generally protecting it from any other would-be predator, including, incidentally, myself. He feels that there's a potential for me eating his fresh raw piece of chicken. Now, I did try and tell him that I had a nice slice of quiche before coming out. Here he is. Johnny Rook of Falkland Island, Caracara. Now, he's got some very interesting behaviour patterns. The first of which is that he is klepto-parasitic, which means that he's going to come and harass you. Now, the thing on the end of your camera, sir, doesn't appeal to me as much as it does to Johnny Rook, and I'm surprised he hasn't had a look at it yet and tried to eat it, because this is one of the things he really enjoys doing. Klepto-parasitic means that this particular bird threatens you, and this is what he's doing now. He's looking threatening, and I'm sure any of you that are slightly worried about the presence of birds will understand the threat. He's staring straight at you occasionally, and there we go. Really trying to, what I would like to say is if you can do this, please don't, it's not clever. You can see that he's good on his feet as he is in the air. He's a highly manoeuvrable bird of prey, and he is a bird of prey despite the fact that he does look like a member of the corvido crow family. And he's extremely inquisitive, and this would help him perhaps to get food in the wild. For he's curious about just about anything that's lying about, and with a bit of luck we can encourage him. Now we are, you see, he's saying, well, is there anything underneath this stone? If I tap that stone, he may just see if there's some... Well, that was very, very cool and collected about that. He actually turned it over slightly and had a look underneath. Keep your eyes on him, you see. He's looking to see if there's any food down there, and in actual fact there will be. For he's a beach comber, as well as having a whole host of other tricks. He will look along the beaches to see if there's any small dead animals, or invertebrates indeed, underneath rocks and stones, and I'll reward him for this one. Making sure he gets a little bit of food for doing such hard work for us. Now, one of the other behaviours he might exhibit is, wait for it, wait, don't get carried away. Duck, 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 duck. Duck, 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 duck. I was going to say he might show us his mating call, but he obviously doesn't fancy me today. What we're going to see if we can do is get him to just do one or two more things while he's out here. Oh, there we are. That was a mating call. And to get him to do this, I've got to deprive him of his favourite toy. You may well have wondered why I bought a bucket out of here. This is because Johnny has a favourite toy, and that's this bucket. He knows whenever the bucket's produced that there's going to be food, and he's going to have to work for it, but he'll get it in one way or another. If he's by getting into it, there we are, or indeed by turning it over. Because he's intelligent, because he knows what's going on during the course of a demonstration, he's also very easily learned a routine, and he knows that I've put a piece of food under there, but he also knows with my nimble 11 stones, believe that and you'll believe anything, that he can't turn the bucket over. So what he's got to try and work out is whether it's worth putting a tremendous amount of effort or whether he should just come over there and threaten you instead. One of the reasons I wear Wellingtons even during hot weather is because if he can't get the bucket turned over, he'll actually peck my ankle to get me off it, but this time I'm going to give up anyway. Let him turn it over. And there we are. Now, did anybody have that 50p piece? Ah, right. If you could just wait till he's looking in your direction and throw it out in front of you here. That's lovely. It'd be totally unfair on the individual birds to just let them go willy-nilly. This has happened with a barn owl on occasion. People have bred and released barn owls into the wild without putting any scientific research into it. And this means that captive bred barn owls have been released into areas that are entirely unsuitable or cannot support them. We'll talk more about that when we bring out the barn owl, the final bird I have to fly for you today. When she's sitting up a tree there, you can quite imagine yourselves down in Aberyron or